It's official. Juan Soto is a go. He went to the Bronx as of last night. What benefits do the Padres get out of this? What else can we expect during this offseason? Find out in the next edition of Sideline Sports Podcast. Welcome to Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Sideline Sports Podcast. I know I've been MIA in the YouTube aspect of things, but we have been pretty busy in TikTok and in the social media aspect with interviews under the lights. You guys can follow us on all of our social media handles down in the description below, from X, Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok. Always trying to put up videos and content for you guys on that front. But I'm Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. If you guys like the episodes that we're putting up, I know it's been a little while, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below as far as what you want to see moving forward, and of course, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. But without further ado, we've got some work to do. There's a lot of things going on down south from Los Angeles and San Diego, but no one better to talk about Friars baseball than the man himself from Talking Friars, Ben Fadden. Ben, it's been a while since we've talked, but I know you've been a busy man these last couple of weeks as far as what the Friars have been doing. What's going on, my man?
What's up? Thanks so much for having me, Alex. Yeah, it's been a busy off season with Mike Shildt being hired and then Juan Soto going to the New York Yankees and all this talk, and it's finally over. So now I think that the Padres can really get going here with their off season. But thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So to talk about this Juan Soto deal, I mean, now that he's moved, I feel like now things could go a little more smoothly now, because I feel like that was maybe like the first thing on the Padres list. Hey, we've got to trade Juan Soto to at least lower that salary cap.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, look, the Padres, it's been widely reported that their payroll, they're trying to get it around $200 million. And with Juan Soto on the team, it was around $189 million, him and Trent Grisham, who got traded, obviously, to the Yankees there. So that left like $11 million of room for the Padres to fill more depth, a few starting pitching holes, replace a closer, bats, first base, DH, someone that can actually, hit for power, because Jake Cronenworth's not that guy, backup catcher. Like, there was a lot of different things that needed to happen with this team. And unless Padres fans wanted to see some one-year guys that are way past their prime and just like reclamation projects, or see Pedro Avila and Matt Waldron make a ton of starts in 2024, then, this move had to have happened to create more flexibility. And in this deal, the Padres get back someone that they can put in their rotation right now in Michael King. They have Randy Vasquez, Johnny Brito, guys that can start, and they'll just be added to the bullpen right now, I would imagine. They get back Drew Thorpe, someone the Yankees didn't want to have to give up, their top pitching prospect, who could contribute in 2024. At least that's what A.J. Preller said yesterday when talking to the media at the winter meetings in Nashville, as that was wrapping up. And obviously that was a long night for everyone there. So they got pitching back. They got Kyle Higashioka. Padre fans, they probably don't want to hear much about Higgy, but he's one of the better backup catchers in baseball, I think. Someone that you can rely on, someone that can start games if the starting catcher, Luis Campusano, goes down. This was about getting depth, getting arms, and the Padres can do that here. Do you want Juan Soto on your baseball team? Of course. Do you want Trent Grisham being a center fielder? Maybe not at the plate, but in center field, yes. But the Padres needed to create room here so that they could build more of a complete roster to try to go put themselves in a better spot going into spring training to go win and get into the postseason. Let's remember, they didn't make the postseason with Juan Soto on their team this past year. And some can say, well, it wasn't Juan Soto's fault. He had a 900-plus OPS. Well, guess how much money he was taking up in that payroll? How much money he was going to take up in this year's payroll? Is he going to have a huge year? Yeah, but this is the situation that the Padres have put themselves in. So they still have a lot of talent. And Padres fans, they might get mad at me for looking at things glass half full, but like we knew that this day was coming. There's still talent on this team. There's a lot of fan bases that would love to have what we have, the core players that we still have. And now there's $40+ million of room that they have to go spend on other parts of the roster and keep building out the pitching staff, which is very important because of how much they are losing and have already lost here in free agency.
Absolutely. Before we even break that one down, in case anybody missed the trade last night, it was the Padres sending both Juan Soto and Trent Grisham for right-handers Michael King, Randy Vasquez, Johnny Brito, and Drew Thorpe. And they also get the catcher Kyle Higashioka. But if you ask me, it was a move that needed to be made for Juan Soto. Again, you lower down the luxury tax, you lower down the cap, and it allows the Padres to make some free agency moves. There was no way AJ Preller is going to stay quiet during the offseason. He's just not a quiet GM that doesn't make moves happen, even during the trade deadline. He's always looking to make moves. And you and I, before we even jumped on, he wanted to trade Blake Snell as well to be able to establish more of that pitching depth that the Padres need to see if they could get a bat to go along with it. The last time you jumped on, we were talking about how the Padres offense was falling short and they would have liked to get some, maybe a bat or two that can maybe help them out down the line and a good prospect. But at least the Juan Soto deal is done. I think it was a good move that needed to be made. And with these pitchers that the Padres are getting here, it replaces what Blake Snell is initially going to do. I don't see him coming back with the San Diego Padres this offseason. I'm imagining he's going to want an expensive contract. And unfortunately, I don't see the Padres having that type of money to be able to bring him back. But you have a young rotation now. The Padres are able to have a solid rotation, if you ask me.
Yeah, right now it's not that much of a solid rotation because it's three guys. It's Musgrove, Darvish, who are coming off of injuries. It's Michael King, who hasn't pitched more than like 105 innings in any season in his big league career. So there's a question mark there, but Seth Lugo worked out last year. And with Blake Snell, yeah, some fans might want Blake Snell back. They see this money opened up. Oh, they do have the room per year wise to go get Blake Snell, give him $30 million a year. But you don't trade your best hitter and you clear up over $30 million just to go sign one player. Starting pitching is important, but it's not like this is Aaron Nola, who I think is more consistent of a pitcher than Blake Snell. I'm not going to give Blake Snell that much money per year and bring him back and clog up. Clog up makes it seem like it's negative. Blake Snell's talented, but he's not going to give the Padres what he gave them last year in any year of this contract coming up. I just don't see that. He had such a great year this past year that it's just not going to happen. So what the Padres need to do, they've got some young guys that will be coming up in the rotation in a couple years, maybe even as soon as late in 2024. Short-term starting pitchers that maybe want to reestablish their market, someone like a Jack Flaherty, someone like that, or guys that only are going to get 1 or 2 year deals in the free agent market. And maybe you can get those guys early here because you have the room now. Other teams are waiting on a bigger signing like an Ohtani, a Yamamoto, guys like that. And you can swoop in and get those guys, be aggressive, and those guys will understand how much you want them and they'll appreciate that. And you can go get those guys. So we'll see. But yeah, this starting the rotation, it can be solid. I don't think it's solid right now because there's still question marks. They need more pitching. But yesterday started the process of it becoming a solid rotation.
I think you said it well. I think you absolutely said it well. But I think one question that I really want to ask, of course, you're trying to get down to the luxury tax hold, and you mentioned it a little bit. Is this so that the Padres could maybe get a run for Yamamoto or Ohtani, or is it for other needs?
Yeah, other needs because, yeah, Ohtani's going to cost, what, $50 million a year maybe?
Yeah, I would say
Yamamoto, that's going to cost a lot of money. Some people are throwing out $250 million for someone that hasn't pitched in the big leagues before. Very, very talented. No doubt about that. He's 25. I understand why he's going to get the money and for how long, but the Padres don't need another long-term pitching contract when they already have Musgrove locked down, they have Darvish locked down, and they have a bunch of young guys that are going to be coming up here. So you're just really blocking those guys And then you're preventing yourself from spending on other spots on the roster long term because those guys are locked up long term. I think they've got plenty of long term contracts. I think it's going to be about the short term. Try to get the most you can out of these guys on a short term contract this offseason.
Okay. And I think before we even jumped on as well, I wanted to mention that there's still another trade piece that the Padres would like to help out as well. Jake Cronenworth, and there was a lot of buzz that maybe Cronenworth was going to be a part of that deal for the Yankees so that the Yankees, they get infield depth. They needed some infield help. And at the same time, the Padres are able to trade both of their players that they wanted to trade away. So have you been hearing anything as far as the Cronenworth sweepstakes?
There's nothing about like a team. There's no teams that have been mentioned. It's just tweets from the winter meetings. I think Mark Feinsand tweeted about how Jake Cronenworth is a potential trade candidate for the Padres. I want to say Dennis Lin of The Athletic also tweeted that yesterday. So I don't really see what team is going to take on Jake Cronenworth's contract because remember, his contract doesn't start till this coming season because he signed that deal when the season had already began last year. So that contract was already signed off for 2023. So this starts this year. It's 7 years, I think, $80 million. That's a lot of money for a guy that has declined offensively, each of the last 3 years since he's gotten to the big league. So, and I don't want to make it seem like he's not a good baseball player. I think he's a valuable player for this Padres team. I think that he's going to be on this Padres team next year. I just don't see a team taking on that contract. And the Padres get back a major league piece, an impactful piece, because I think that's what they would want to get back. I don't think they just want to dump Cronenworth's contract. Someone who very recently was viewed as one of the core players of this group. Dump that contract for someone that's going to be sitting in Double-A. I just don't see that. And so what team is going to be willing to take that on? The Blue Jays, someone mentioned yesterday in one of my live streams, I did 2.5 hours and then another hour and a half show when the Soto deal was actually done. They were mentioning Cronenworth, I think, from Manoah, from the Blue Jays. Something like that would be interesting because, we know Alek Manoah's name. Ruben Diablo, one of the best pitching coaches in baseball. Work with them. Manoah still has plenty of years of control. And the Blue Jays, they might not sign Bo Bichette long-term because he's coming up, and Vlad Jr., they're coming up. If they don't get Ohtani, maybe that fits. But the Blue Jays probably don't want to give up Alek Manoah if they perceive it as to be a salary dump. So just little things like that where I just don't see a trade really matching up for Jake Cronenworth coming off of a down year. Maybe after 2024 if he has a good season and then it's one less year of the contract. But right now, I just don't see it happen.
It's got to be one of those where Cronenworth has to have an incline of a year to be able to show his value. Unfortunately, the bat's not there. I feel like the glove is very much still there. He still has a really good glove. You've been seeing him switching from second to first and trying to fill that void that the Padres have had there at first base. But I think we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't see it as something very important for the Padres to make, but it's certainly something that they'd like to do. But speaking of the things that the Padres have to do, now that Juan Soto has been moved, now that you've got some more pitching depth, you've got Kyle Higashioka as the catcher. A very small question. Is Kyle Higashioka going to be the everyday catcher for them, or are they riding it with Sanchez? Because I know there's still Luis Campusano as well.
Yeah, I don't think Sanchez is going to come back. He's a free agent as well. And the Padres aren't going to pay him $8 million a year, let's say, to be a backup catcher, share time with Luis Campusano, they want him to be the starting catcher. They just acquired Kyle Higashioka, who's one of the better backup catchers in baseball. Gary Sanchez, I don't see him coming back. It's going to be Campusano catching. It's going to be Higashioka catching other games that Campusano does not catch. I think that's where they're going to go with that. And Higashioka is not making a whole lot of money. It's only 1 year. I thought it was more, but I looked at the contract. It's only 1 year, but it's for less than $3 million, I think. So it helps the Padres create more flexibility.
Absolutely, a pretty good bargain for an average catcher. That's going to give Luis Campusano the day off on a Sunday or any of the day games. I think he'd be a pretty nice backup end there. But the question I wanted to originally ask was, what's next for the Padres? Now you have some money to play with. What are some of the things that they have to address now here in the offseason?
Well, pitching for sure. You can never have enough starting pitching, and it's not like they even have enough starting pitching right now. I think Preller is looking for one reliever, another reliever that can pitch like 7, 8, 9th. There's Enyel De Los Santos that they acquired in the Scott Barlow trade. There's Robert Suarez that was signed to an extension before last season. Injuries last year hurt his production in 2023. But without Hader, like you need another guy there. And Barlow was traded for at the deadline, but he's gone. So De Los Santos is going to take on a big role. There's Cosgrove, there's Wilson, but they need another reliever there. And then starting pitching wise, preferably not just one more starter, but a couple more starters, like probably veteran starters that we know. Or I'm not going to rule out a trade for, I don't know if it would be a controllable starter, but maybe the Padres are like, hey, we got rid of Juan Soto, but we're going to make our pitching staff much better. Or maybe not much better. It's hard to make it much better than it was last year with Snell and Walker and Lugo weren't that bad when they were on the mound. But maybe AJ Preller says, hey, yeah, the fan base doesn't like that Soto's gone. I understand that, but we're going to go acquire someone like Corbin Burns. We're going to acquire someone like Tyler Glasnow or Shane Bieber, guys that are available. They're on 1-year deals. Dylan Cease is on a 2-year deal. You'd have to give up more, but maybe someone like that, or maybe it's someone like a Jesus Luzardo from the Miami Marlins. We'll see. I mean, Ha-Seong Kim is, I guess, another trade candidate. Some people might want to throw his name out there because it's a 1-year contract. Cronenworth is locked down long-term, but he's one of the best Padres from last year's team. He's not making $30+ million. He's making like 7. So it's much more appealing for the Padres to keep Ha-Seong Kim. He can play multiple positions. So yeah, I mean, what's next for this Padres team? Pitching and then outfield. They don't have a center fielder. They don't have a left fielder. Tatis is in right. I think Tatis is going to stay in right field. Jung-Hoo Lee is someone that the Padres are connected to. 5 years, $50 million, I think, was the projection for what he could get. Padres have room for that. Jacob Marcy is a prospect who could come up at some point, and I think he's going to fight for the center field job in spring training. At least that's what AJ Preller said yesterday. But maybe look for a 1-year deal with an outfielder. I don't know how great of a fit Tommy Pham would be. AJ Preller likes Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham has said glowing words about Mike Schilt, who's now the Padres manager. So I see a connection there, but I don't know how Tommy feels about the Padres fan base. So someone like that, Jorge Soler is probably going to be connected to the Padres. They could trade for someone like Randy Arozarena. Someone like that that's not on a long-term deal, but like a short 1-year, 2-year deal, at least for one of the corner guys, and then probably, or if they don't get someone like Jung-Hoo Lee, you could go after Michael A. Taylor or Kevin Kiermaier, someone like that where it's cheap, not making a ton of money, it's a short-term deal, and then you can see what you can get from some prospects that might come up at some point here. So yeah, pitching, outfield, still need, I would like to get a power first base DH bat as well. But catching seems pretty set. So, I mean, the Padres, they accomplished some things with this trade. Some of it was adding guys, adding arms, guys that the Yankees didn't want to give up, which props to AJ Preller for standing his ground on that. Also, more importantly, probably, depending on what moves they make, more flexibility to, build more of a complete roster. You don't want to trade Juan Soto, but AJ Preller had to do what was best considering the situation, the circumstances that they were in.
Well, there you have it, guys. That was Ben Fadden with Talking Friars, breaking down, first off, the Juan Soto move that just went down a couple of hours ago last night, talking about what the Friars need to do. Is Cronenworth going to be moved? What are some trade options that they have during this offseason and moving forward? But that's all the time we have left here on Sideline Sports Podcast. We thank you all so much for joining us in this one. If you guys like this episode, please comment down below what you guys think about the Juan Soto deal. I want to hear you guys' opinions. Do you guys like it? Are you guys not a fan? Are you guys in the middle? I'm not sure how I feel about it just yet. I need to see opening day, how it works out. And also hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell. It really helps out the channel in that aspect. But once again, a huge thank you and a huge shout out to Ben Fadden for pinch hitting very, very late notice yesterday after we were seeing the ball rolling with the Juan Soto deal getting serious and finally being finalized last night. Ben, huge shout out to you, man. Thanks for responding really quick and jumping on such late notice.
course. No problem, Alex. Anytime. Thank you.
We wish you the best of luck in the future projects that you have, Ben. And again, thanks so much for jumping on to the show. I'm Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. Be on the lookout for the next interviews under the lights. It's going to come a little bit as a surprise, see where we end up in the coming weeks. Have a good one, everybody, and enjoy whatever's left of the winter meetings this week.